She never raised her voice. She didn't have to. Control doesn't always sound loud. Sometimes it whispers. It hides inside kindness. It smiles while it tightens the rope. You don't even notice it at first, because it feels like love. In the beginning, every relationship is a trade of illusion. You show your best. She shows her best. Two masks pretending to be faces. You tell yourself it's connection, it's chemistry, it's fate. But underneath it all, something else is moving. Something older than love. Power. Every relationship has it. Every smile hides it. Every I love you is also a quiet negotiation. Who's leading here? At first, it feels balanced. You both give, you both take. You think it's mutual. But it never stays that way. Because sooner or later, someone starts to want control. Not because they're evil, but because they're afraid. Control is just fear in disguise. Fear of losing relevance. Fear of losing love. Fear of being the one who gets left behind. She starts asking small things. Text me when you get there. Why do you follow her? Why didn't you answer sooner? You call it care. It feels nice, even comforting. But care becomes supervision. Supervision becomes control. And by the time you notice the pattern, it's too late to fight it. The truth is, love always begins as freedom and ends as ownership. We fall for someone's energy, and then we try to cage it. Because that's what humans do with things they love. They try to keep them, to preserve them, to protect them, even from change. But love that doesn't allow freedom isn't love. It's possession dressed as affection. Here's the hidden part. The psychology no one talks about. When a woman feels insecure in a relationship, she doesn't usually dominate directly. She controls emotionally. She makes you feel guilty for things you didn't do. She uses silence like a weapon. She withholds affection, then gives it back when you behave. That's not love. That's training. It's psychological conditioning. The same system used to make dogs obey commands. Reward, punishment, repeat. And men, we fall for it because we mistake peace for love. We'd rather surrender than fight. We tell ourselves it's not worth the argument. We trade our self-respect for temporary calm. But every time you swallow your truth to keep the peace, you lose a little more of yourself. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you're not even there anymore. Here's what no one tells you. Control doesn't always come from dominance. Sometimes it comes from vulnerability, the tears, the sadness, the "you don't care about me anymore." These are just softer forms of the same power game, because control doesn't always push. Sometimes it pulls. In psychology, this is called emotional leverage. It's when someone uses your empathy against you. They don't need to scream. They just need to make you feel responsible for their pain. Once that happens, you're hooked. Because now, every decision you make isn't about truth. It's about not hurting them. And that's the moment love turns into control. The most dangerous kind of control is the one that makes you feel like you're choosing it. You think you're being kind. You think you're being understanding. But really, you're being domesticated. Every "it's fine, do what you want" comes with an invisible rulebook attached. Every "I just want you to be happy" translates to "as long as your happiness includes me." And slowly, you start censoring yourself. You stop saying certain things. You stop talking to certain people. You start living inside invisible walls built from guilt. That's the prison of modern relationships, not physical bars, emotional ones. A cage made of obligations, expectations, and the constant need to prove you're still good enough. Most people don't notice when love turns into control because they confuse peace with paralysis. They call it stability. They call it commitment. But deep down, they feel it. The subtle suffocation. That quiet voice inside whispering, "This isn't freedom. This is management." Love should make you feel alive. Control makes you feel careful. You start editing yourself mid-sentence. You rehearse your reactions. You start thinking twice before being honest, because honesty became dangerous. That's when you know the balance has shifted. Most people don't want to admit this, but relationships aren't destroyed by lies. They die from overmanagement. Too many rules, too many emotional checkpoints, too much control disguised as love. When love becomes surveillance, it stops being love. You see, love and power can't coexist forever. One has to consume the other. And the person who fears loss the most always becomes the controller. Sometimes it's the man. Sometimes it's the woman. But the pattern is the same. The one who's most afraid of being abandoned tries to become unabandonable. They make you depend on their emotions. They tie your peace to their approval. They become your judge, your therapist, your parent, all in one. That's not intimacy. That's surveillance. Real intimacy is when two people can exist apart and still choose to return. Control is when one person makes the other afraid to leave. You know what's scarier than loneliness? Dependency. Because dependency feels like connection until it doesn't, until it becomes obligation, until love feels like debt. Here's the dark truth about emotional control. People don't control others because they're strong. They do it because they're terrified. Control is the armor of the insecure, and love is the perfect weapon to hide it behind. When you say, "I love you," you give someone access to your nervous system. They can calm you, or they can destroy you. And most people don't realize how much power they've handed over until it's too late. It starts small, tiny adjustments, quiet compromises. Then it becomes a system, a structure, an emotional economy where affection has a price. You stop being partners. You become participants in a subtle game of dominance. You can hear it in conversations everywhere. "I can't tell him that. She wouldn't understand. I just don't want another fight." Translation? Control has replaced communication. You're not connecting anymore. You're negotiating for peace. And peace built on fear is just silence wearing perfume. The irony is that both sides suffer. The one who controls lives in constant anxiety. The one who submits lives in quiet resentment. Both are trapped. Both are afraid. But only one usually realizes it. And it's always the one who lost themselves first. So what's the way out? Awareness. Brutal, honest awareness. Ask yourself, when did I stop being me? When did love become performance? When did safety start feeling like strategy? If you can't remember the last time you said no without guilt, you're not in love. You're in captivity. The hardest truth is this: you can't love someone you need to control, and you can't love someone who needs to control you. Love and power can't share the same room, because where power lives, love dies gasping. If you really love someone, let them scare you a little. Let them be unpredictable. Let them be free. Because if they can't leave, they never truly chose to stay. So maybe the point of love isn't to hold, but to witness. Not to own, but to experience. Not to demand, but to allow. Because control might make you feel safe, but it will always make you feel alone. And freedom might scare you, but it's the only space where love can breathe.